Now that we have reviewed what is meant by comprehensive school mental health, we now can think about what this means in your school and how teachers and other school staff who are not mental health providers fit into school mental health. Take a moment to reflect on what role or roles do you believe educators and other school staff should play in supporting student mental health? When we and others, including the American Psychiatric Foundation, have asked this question to the education field, it was found that most school staff recognize that they have an important role in being aware of student mental health needs and having a basic understanding of how to support student mental health in the classroom and school building. They responded that they want to know the signs and symptoms of mental health concerns, the difference between typical or troubled, and to know what to do to better support student well-being. They want to have enough information to do their job and to help students, but they do not want to become mental health providers. They want to learn from credible sources. They want to know how to make referrals and how to best work with the mental health team. Please take a moment to consider another question. What training, resources, or supports would you need to more effectively support student mental health in your current role? Different components of educator mental health literacy, from environmental scans with educators and national and state education and mental health staff and leaders, led to the following core integrated components of mental health literacy. These components cross 4 categories. The first category is mental health knowledge and includes signs and symptoms of mental health concerns and understanding the appropriate treatments and supports for mental health concerns. The second category, mental health promotion, includes promoting positive mental health in the classroom and school-wide. The third category, providing support, involves identifying students in need of support and linking them to appropriate services and supporting students with mental health problems at school. The final category, reducing stigma, is about improving attitudes about mental health and providing support in ways that do not increase stigma. The interrelated components were used by the National Center for School Mental Health and the Mental Health Technology Transfer Center Network to develop a free online mental health literacy training for educators called Classroom Wise, Wellbeing Information and Strategies for Educators. If you would like to learn more about or to take these trainings, please visit www.classroomwise.org. Here is one of the videos from the Classroom Wise training that can help you think about how mental health can be brought into your classroom. As you watch this video, think about your own school or classroom and consider what can be done to better integrate mental health to promote well-being and reduce stigma.
So to bring mental health in my classroom, I do different activities like mindfulness activities. I allow them to talk about their emotions and express to me what they're, how they're feeling for that day. Like I may be teaching and it may be a time where I just say, everyone put your pencils down. Like, let's just talk, because they're not focused or something's going on. Something could have happened with them and their peers before my class. So sometimes it's just put the pencils down, let's talk, let's say how we feel right now, or let's do a mindfulness activity before a test where we can relax.
So I've brought mental health into my classroom in a couple of different ways. I started by using strategies such as meditation. I found, especially during transition times, bringing mental health awareness was important. Transition times tend to be harder for students, and what that means is coming from lunch, coming from recess, going class to class. So before or after those transition times, taking some silent time, using an app, or simply just playing light music, turning the lights down. From there, I grew and started to study a little bit more and started to purchase things for my classroom, sayings, phrases on the wall. I created a meditation station. So students, if they needed to step away from what we were doing and they felt they needed a time apart, they could go to this meditation station and they could look at the quotes that are posted on the wall, or they could journal. There are journals available. I also started to work with a program where we piloted yoga for students to see how yoga could increase mental health, but also increase academic performance at the same time.
The ways that I bring mental health into my classroom, really, it ranges across the gambit, right? Because when we talk about mental health, we're not speaking about binaries of you're in good mental health, you're in poor mental health. What we're talking about is just a daily sort of assessment of where you are coming in for that day. And all of my students have different lives at home and different responsibilities. And so for me, talking about mental health is talking about health in general. Hey, how you doing is something that's very simple. And if you build a relationship with the student first, when you ask them, hey, how are you doing? They will give you a truthful and honest answer if they are comfortable doing so. But then there are more explicit ways to really go deeper with that mental health piece, like journaling, or surveys, or like I said, those small restorative social circles. So there's a number of ways, both explicit and implicit ways, to just check up on a student's mental health.
I bring mental health into my classroom actually by talking about my own mental health. I think that especially with the 8th graders, the middle school children that I teach, there's a lot of looking around at who's listening and what are you doing, and I want to be cool and I don't want to seem like anything's wrong with me. So if I'm having a really rough morning, usually during my morning meeting with my kids, I usually tell them that I'm having a rough morning and the things that I do to combat it. Because I think that by being authentic with them and telling them that my life isn't perfect and that I have coping strategies for myself, they feel more able to have me help them build their coping strategies and be able to develop those things for themselves.
Bringing some elements of mental health into my classroom, number one, created a more calm space. Number two, created a more safe space. Students, you could tell, felt more comfortable. They started to get more comfortable with these ideas. And then number three, they started to really invest more in the learning. So I think looking at this in all areas, mental health, educationally, it really helped. And then we started to get families invested. They would come during meditation or yoga time, and they would get involved. And I think that's another element. So I started to see gains in many areas by investing in different mental health practices.
So the results of doing those types of activities are the children they seem more comfortable in the classroom. They're not as tense. Again, they feel comfortable opening up and talking. I have more buy-in. And when I say buy-in, I mean, when you're teaching, you can tell if the students are buying into the lesson and actually focus and taking in what you're teaching.
In our last section today, think about the mental health resources that are available in your school. Often when we talk to non-mental health staff in a school building, they are not aware of all the mental health services and resources that are available to students, family, and school staff. While mental health staff are more aware of what is available, they still may have gaps in what they know about. It is important that all staff are aware and information can easily be shared with students and families. Figuring out what is available, how to access it, and how to make sure this information is broadly available is called resource mapping. In school mental health, resources in schools and the surrounding community can be mapped across the multi-tiered system of supports to better address the needs of the whole child. A resource map may also be referred to as an asset map or environmental scan. A resource map may literally be a map that shows the location and type of services available. It can also be a directory or guide that lists the services and resources that are available. Resource mapping is not a one-time activity, but an ongoing active process for identifying and understanding internal and external assets and the who, when, where, why, and how to refer individuals and families for these services. Having a list of services that is updated, includes information related to eligibility, and has specific details about the services provided increases the likelihood of successful follow-through. Resource mapping can also help to better connect schools and community partners and can enhance communication and collaboration between them to better meet student needs. Take a moment to consider the mental health resources in your own school or district. Ask yourself the following questions and take some notes, as we will use these ideas in a later activity with your district. What mental health resources are you aware of that are available to students and/or staff? Think about the following levels: universal, tier 1, for all students; selected, tier 2, for some students or students at risk for showing mild impairment; targeted, tier 3, for a few students or those whose functioning is impacted negatively; and professional development and support for a healthy school workforce. As we conclude, think about how you can use this information today to move toward action in your school. Consider what is one action that you will take to better support student mental health and well-being in your school. Thank you for taking the time to think about some actions you can take. Here are some actions that we have heard from other school staff members. I will check in with students more frequently to get a sense of how they are doing. I will follow through with requests to complete measures for my school social worker or psychologist. I will reach out to caregivers to share social, emotional, or behavioral progress. I will make sure that I know how to make a referral for counseling in my school. I will join a committee in my school to help support mental health. I will work on my own mental health so that I can better be able to support students in the classroom. Thank you for joining today. I hope that you have gained a better understanding of what is meant by school mental health and that you have ideas related to how to best move school mental health forward in your school. We have included resources for further learning on the training site, including guidance documents from the National Center for School Mental Health, the National Child Traumatic Stress Network, and the National Association of School Psychologists. Here are the references used to inform this module. This now concludes Module 1, Foundations of Comprehensive School Mental Health.